Arab billionaire installed cameras to monitor his black maid. What he discovered about his daughter terrified him. Khalil Al-Mansour's hands trembled as he watched the recording for the fourth time. On the screen, his daughter Yasmin, only 5 years old, was crying in the arms of the maid Grace. "I want my mommy." "Where's mommy?" Grace stroked the child's hair with infinite tenderness. "Your mommy loves you very much, my angel. She asked me for something very important before she left. A promise that I will always keep." Khalil paused the video, confused and terrified. Asked? His wife Amina had died a year and a half ago from heart complications. How could this maid, hired only 3 months ago, have known his wife? Khalil was 42 years old and managed a $1.3 billion investment fund. His Beverly Hills mansion had everything money could buy, but since Amina's death, it had become a silent tomb. He had become suspicious, bitter, paranoid. In the first month after her death, he tried to take care of Yasmin on his own. He failed miserably. Over the next 15 months, he fired 6 nannies for reasons ranging from negligence to invasion of privacy on social media. That left him and Yasmin, a traumatized little girl who stopped talking, started wetting the bed again, and cried every night for her mother. Grace Thompson appeared through an elite agency. A 41-year-old black woman with 15 years of experience and training in pediatric nursing. During the interview, when Khalil mentioned that his wife had died of heart complications, something changed in her face. A flash of recognition that she quickly hid. He ignored it and hired her. In 3 weeks, Grace did the impossible. Yasmin smiled again, talked again, slept through the night. The pediatrician called, impressed with the girl's recovery. But Khalil was not relieved. He was suspicious. How did she achieve what 6 professional nannies had failed to do? Why did Yasmin become attached so quickly? Then the disturbing signs began. Grace knew impossible things. She prepared Amina's favorite dish using the exact recipe. She hummed a lullaby in Arabic that only the family knew. She rearranged Yasmin's room exactly as Amina had kept it. "Your mommy loved blowing soap bubbles," she said one day in the garden. It was true, but how did she know? There were no photos of it. There was no public record. Khalil came to the only conclusion: this woman had invaded their lives. She was manipulating Yasmin using memories of her dead mother. For what? Blackmail? Inheritance? Kidnapping? The possibilities terrified him. He called a discreet security company. "I want hidden cameras. My daughter's room, living room, kitchen, everything. With audio." The technician hesitated about the legality, but Khalil cut him off. "It's my house, my 5-year-old daughter. Install it today." For 10 days, he watched compulsively. Grace was too perfect. Loving, patient, dedicated. Until Thursday, while tidying up the room alone, she picked up Amina's photo and started crying. "I promised, Amina. I promised I would take care of her as if she were my own. I won't fail you. Not again." Khalil froze. Again? That woman really knew Amina. He continued watching feverishly until he found the scene at bath time. Yasmin asked innocently, "Grace, did you meet my mom?" Grace paused, her eyes welling up. "Yes, I did, my love. Your mother was the most important person in my life. She saved me when I thought there was no hope left." Saved? Khalil felt the world spinning. He wasn't dealing with a manipulator. He was dealing with someone who owed Amina a deep debt. But what was it? What he didn't know yet was that Grace Thompson had been Amina's nurse for the last 3 days before the fatal surgery. And that Amina, knowing she might not survive, held Grace's hand and made a desperate request. A request that Grace swore to fulfill even if it meant turning her whole life upside down. Because some promises transcend death and connect women whom fate has brought together at the cruelest moment. If this story is touching you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What follows will show that sometimes we misjudge the very people who deserve our trust the most. Khalil didn't sleep that night. He watched every minute of the recordings looking for answers. It was at 2:37 a.m. that he found something that changed everything. Grace was in her room, talking to someone on the phone. "I know it's risky, but I promised her. Amina made me swear that if anything happened, I would take care of Yasmin. Not as a nanny, but as family." Long pause while listening. "He doesn't trust me. He installed cameras, I know he did. I saw the technicians leaving last week. Khalil felt shame burning his face. But I'm not giving up. That girl needs someone who truly loves her, not someone who watches over her out of paranoia. The next morning, Khalil confronted Grace in the office after Yasmin left for school. Sit down. She sat down, the smile fading when she saw his expression. I know you knew my wife. So I'm going to ask you once, who are you really, and what do you want from my family? Grace took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears. I was the nurse responsible for Amina during her stay at Cedars-Sinai. Night shift, last 3 days before the surgery. Khalil felt his heart race. Cedars-Sinai, the hospital where Amina spent her last moments. She knew she was going to die, Mr. Al-Mansour. The doctors gave her a 30% chance. She was terrified, not for herself, but for leaving Yasmin without a mother. Grace wiped away her tears. The night before the surgery, she called me at 3 in the morning. She held my hand tightly and said, Grace, I saw your file. You lost a daughter. You understand this pain. I had lost my daughter Sophia to leukemia 3 years earlier. She was 5, the same age Yasmin is now. Her voice broke. Amina made me promise that if she didn't survive, I would find a way to make sure Yasmin didn't grow up without a mother's love. She said, my husband will be lost in grief. He will shut himself off. Someone needs to be there for my baby. Khalil swallowed hard, remembering how Amina always read people with surgical precision. And you agreed? Grace nodded. She died at 11:43 the next morning on the operating table. I was leaving my shift when I got the news. I went to the hospital chapel and swore I would do it. But how? I couldn't just show up at your door saying, Hi, I promised your dead wife I'd take care of your daughter. She stood up and walked to the window. So I waited. I watched from afar. I saw you fire nanny after nanny. I saw Yasmin emotionally wither away through her school reports. I have a friend who works there. When I saw the opening at the agency, I used my contacts to get referred. I knew that if I mentioned Amina directly, you would think I was crazy or a con artist. Khalil felt something break inside him. You lied in the interview. I omitted, she corrected. Everything on my resume is true. But yes, I omitted our connection because I knew you wouldn't trust it. And I was right, wasn't I? You installed cameras to watch me like I was a criminal. Heavy silence filled the room. Do you have proof? Khalil asked, his voice hoarse. Of that promise? Grace picked up her purse and took out a yellowed envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter on hospital paper. Khalil immediately recognized Amina's delicate handwriting. Grace, if you are reading this, it is because I did not survive. Thank you for listening to me that night. I know I asked for something impossible, but I saw in you the kindness that my daughter will need. Khalil is a good man, but grief will turn him into someone hard and distant. Yasmin needs warmth, laughter, someone to hug her when she cries for her mother who is no longer there. Please find a way to be present in her life. I'm not asking you to replace her as a mother, no one can. But be her aunt, her friend, the female presence that will remind her that love exists. My husband has the money to pay for any professional, but my daughter needs someone who truly loves her. With eternal gratitude, Amina. Khalil held the letter with trembling hands, tears streaming silently down his face. It was her handwriting. Her way of writing. The last message Amina left was not for him, it was for a nurse she met 3 days before she died. And he had treated that woman with suspicion. I'm an idiot, he whispered. You came to fulfill a sacred promise, and I spied on you like a criminal. Grace shook her head. You were protecting your daughter. Any father would do the same. Khalil looked at her through his tears. Amina chose you. She always knew how to read people better than I did. Will you forgive me? Grace was about to answer when the door burst open. Yasmin came running in, her teacher behind her with a worried expression. Mr. Al-Mansour, sorry to interrupt, but Yasmin had a meltdown at school. She was inconsolable, asking for Grace. The little girl ran straight into Grace's arms, sobbing. I thought you had left like mommy. I thought you had abandoned me. Grace hugged her tightly, kissing her forehead. I will never leave you, my angel. Never. I promise. Khalil watched the scene and something inside him shattered completely. This was not a relationship between employer and employee. It was pure maternal love, the kind Yasmin was desperate to have again. After Yasmin calmed down and went to play in the garden under the teacher's supervision, Khalil made a decision. "Grace, I need to show you something." He opened his laptop and turned the screen toward her. He showed her the recordings, all of them. Grace paled as she saw the hidden cameras capturing every private moment. "I saw everything. I saw you crying in your room holding Amina's photo. I saw you singing the songs that only she knew. I saw you loving my daughter when I failed to do so." He closed the laptop, shame clear on his face. "I spent a year and a half obsessed with protecting Yasmin from the wrong people that I forgot to be the right father for her. I turned my home into a luxury prison. I treated you like a threat when you were the answer." Grace remained silent, processing. "You invaded my privacy, Khalil. You recorded intimate, personal moments. That hurts." "I know," he admitted, his voice breaking. "And I'll carry that guilt. But I need you to know, I'm removing all the cameras today. I'm tearing up the nanny contract you signed." Grace's eyes widened in alarm. "Are you firing me?" "No," Khalil said firmly. "I'm asking you to stay as part of the family. Not as an employee. As the Aunt Amina wanted you to be." He went to the safe and took out some documents. "I'll quintuple what I pay you, but not as a salary. As family allowance. You'll have a room in the main wing, not in the staff quarters. An unlimited credit card. Platinum health insurance. Everything." Grace covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "But most importantly, you'll have equal authority over Yasmin. Medical decisions, school decisions, everything. Because Amina trusted you, and I finally understand that she was right." Grace shook her head, incredulous. "Khalil, this is necessary," he interrupted. "Yasmin needs you. I need you. Not to clean the house or cook, but to be the female presence, the maternal love that this house has lost. Do you accept?" Grace looked out the window, watching Yasmin play in the garden. The little girl waved excitedly when she saw her looking. "I accept. But on one condition." Khalil nodded. "You need to go to therapy. To truly process Amina's death. Because Yasmin doesn't just need me. She needs her father to be present, not the paranoid businessman who hides behind his work." Khalil swallowed hard. That hurt, but it was true. "I will. I promise." At that moment, something changed permanently. They were no longer boss and employee. They were a family being rebuilt on a foundation of shared pain and sacred promises. 3 days later, Khalil gathered Grace and Yasmin in the living room. "I have an important announcement." He knelt in front of his daughter. "Yasmin, Grace is going to live here with us forever. She'll be your Aunt Grace, and she'll take care of you just like your mom asked her to." Yasmin's eyes widened. "Forever, Daddy?" "Forever, Habibi." The little girl jumped into Grace's arms, laughing for the first time in months with that pure joy of childhood. Khalil watched his father and aunt hug his daughter, and for the first time since Amina died, he felt something other than pain, hope. Amina's letter was now framed in the living room, next to the family photos. A testament that true love does not end with death. It finds ways to continue through the people we choose to trust. What Khalil learned is that paranoia builds walls, but love builds bridges. And that sometimes the greatest legacy someone can leave is not money, but a promise fulfilled by a stranger who becomes family. 8 months later, the Al Mansour mansion was unrecognizable. Not because of the decor or furniture, but because of the energy that filled every room. There was laughter echoing through the hallways, music playing in the kitchen, life pulsing where once there was only deathly silence. Yasmin, now 6, ran around the house in a pink dress that Grace had handmade. "Aunt Grace. Daddy. Look what I drew at school." She held a piece of paper with 3 figures drawn in crayon, a tall man, a woman with curly hair, and a little girl in the middle, all holding hands. Below, written in crooked letters, "My family." Grace took the drawing with tears in her eyes. "It's beautiful, my angel. I'll put it on the fridge with the others." The fridge was covered with drawings, photos, colorful reminders, visual evidence of a house that had become a home again. Khalil watched from the office door, His laptop closed for the first time before 6 in the evening. He had kept his promise to go to therapy. Twice a week, he processed the grief, guilt, and paranoia that had nearly destroyed his relationship with his daughter. He was learning that being present was worth more than any bank account. "Daddy, are you having dinner with us tonight?" Yasmin asked with those hopeful eyes. "Yes, Habibi. Every day from now on." And he kept his word. Dinners became sacred rituals. Grace cooked dishes that Amina loved, teaching Yasmin the recipes, preserving memories through flavors and aromas. "Your mother always added an extra pinch of cinnamon to the rice pudding," Grace explained as Yasmin stirred the pot on a stool. "She said it was the secret to love." Family therapy also became routine. Once a week, the three of them sat with Dr. Chun to navigate the complexities of being a non-traditional family built on loss and promises. "Yasmin, how do you feel about Aunt Grace living here?" the psychologist asked in one session. The little girl thought seriously. "I feel like Mom sent an angel to take care of us when she couldn't stay anymore. Aunt Grace is my angel." Grace discreetly wiped away her tears. Khalil held her hand, a gesture that had become natural between them, not romantic, but brotherly. A connection between two people united by the mission of honoring Amina's memory. The framed letter in the living room became a point of pilgrimage. Visitors commented on the delicate handwriting, on the powerful words. "Your wife was wise," a business colleague remarked at a dinner party. "She knew that the best legacies are not material." Khalil nodded. "Amina taught me more in death than I deserved to learn when she was alive. She taught me that trust is more important than control. That love cannot be bought, it is recognized. And that sometimes the right people arrive in disguise, carrying promises that change everything." One Friday night, as they were putting Yasmin to bed, the little girl held both their hands. "Aunt Grace, do you promise you'll never leave?" "I promise, my love. Forever." "What about you, Daddy? Promise you'll stay home more?" Khalil kissed his daughter's forehead. "I promise, Habibi. You are more important than any business." After Yasmin fell asleep, Grace and Khalil stood on the balcony watching the lights of Los Angeles. "You know you saved us, right?" he said softly. "Not just Yasmin. Me too. I was drowning in paranoia and money." Grace smiled. "I didn't save anyone. I just kept a promise. Amina saved us all. She connected us even after she was gone." Khalil thought about the irony. He had spent fortunes on security, surveillance, control, trying to protect what was left of his family. In the end, true protection came from a promise whispered in a hospital bed, between a desperate mother and a nurse who also knew the pain of losing a loved one. "Do you think Amina would be proud?" he asked. "I'm absolutely certain," Grace replied. "You've become the father she knew you could be. And Yasmin is growing up surrounded by love, which is all she wanted." The lesson Khalil learned transformed not only his personal life, but his business philosophy. He began treating employees with more humanity, understanding that loyalty is not bought with money, but with respect. He created a fund to help families of terminally ill patients at Cedars-Sinai, in memory of Amina and in honor of Grace. "So that other important promises can be kept," he said at the inauguration. "The greatest revenge against pain is not to close yourself off. It is to open yourself up. It is not to control. It is to trust. It is not to accumulate wealth. It is to value people." Khalil had billions, but he only became truly rich when he learned that love transcends death through promises kept by strangers who become family. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Have you ever judged someone wrongly and later discovered that this person was exactly what you needed? Share with those who need to believe that there are still sacred promises being kept in the world.